Hi, hello everyone. Welcome back to the TheTecherz. I'm Surmeet Singh, and I hope you're having a great time. So, from today, I was thinking we can actually start mixing the topics up, get into more interesting rather than just the basics. But I was going into more interesting topics which are more advanced and for today this video I'm going to start with programming languages. See why programming languages? Because these are actually the core, these are the future for engineering, be it electronics, be it computer science or mechanical. You need a little bit of programming everywhere. So you program the microcontrollers, you program everything, and software programming is the future. That's it, because we are using software programming is just not making your operating systems, your iOS, Android apps, your different softwares for different technology, your different hardware. And that's in the as we are moving forward with technology, that's the core. So that's why I wanted to start covering up programming languages, because we are going into so many advanced programming languages. Earlier it was just C++. Now there's Java, there's Python, there's C Sharp. There are a lot of different programming languages. There's machine learning coming up, there's artificial intelligence, which is all the basis. So we will start and we will go into all these advanced things as well. All right, so let's get started. Okay, so let's start with programming languages. I'm gonna start with okay, so what are actually programming languages? There are three level of programming languages. One is the machine level language. As you know, machine only understands the language of 0 and 1. I will cover that up with you in some other topic, where all the binary and digital electronics come in. How does the 0 and 1 work? But as discussed earlier, 0 and 1 is nothing but just voltages. That's what you want to know for now, but we'll cover that up later. How does 0 and 1 work? How does every 0 and 1 combine together to form how what the machine understands from it? But we don't use machine level language for programming anymore, because it is only it is only practical for small programs, but not for huge programs like developing big programs, which we currently use on any softwares or apps that we currently use. That's not practical to use machine level language anymore. It's only used for small programs in your microcontrollers, or getting a little bit data out, or any small programs, very small programs. The next level comes is assembly level language, which is mnemonic codes that are represented in hexadecimal values. Again, we will cover up the hexadecimal values in later when I'm covering up binary electronics, because that's the main of a conversion of decimal into hexadecimal, or BCD coding, or zeros and one binary coding. Again, mnemonic codes are hard to remember, so yeah, they cover up a little bit bigger programs than the machine level language, but still not practical anymore. Then you come high level programming languages. The main benefit of using those is that it's readable by programmers. That means you guys, when you are programming, it's easily readable, and you're able to easily tell the computer or any machine that you're programming what do you want done. And it provides a platform for better software programming. You can write big programs in these programming languages. And one of the example of high level programming language is C language. It was one of the first programming languages. And we're gonna this is the first language that I'm gonna cover right now, before I cover any other language like C++, Java, Python, or any other language, because it is the basis of C++, Java, and Python, which means once we Once you learn this, you can adapt to any language easily. All you need is your logical mind, and I'm gonna help you with everything. Don't worry about that. But yeah, that's why we're gonna learn C language first. All right. So a C program actually consists of five things. A preprocessor commands like hash define, hash include. What are these? A hash include command is used to. These are preprocessor commands, which means before the compiler gets into your actual program, these are the lines that are called first to interact with your processor. Your processor first sees these lines. What are the libraries it needs to actually start interacting with your program and run the program. So include, hash include is a command that includes all the library files that you need for that particular program that you're gonna run, that you're gonna program. Then it consists of functions or methods that we call. I'm gonna get into detail what are functions later on. With an example, I'll show you one program today, a couple of programs today, and I'll tell you what the functions are. And there's one main function which is named exactly main. That's what we name it, which is the main function of your program. That how the flow of your how the flow of your program is going to go. Then there are variables. You can use variables to store any kind of data, be it statements, characters, numbers. And then there are statements and expressions, which mean any executable statements. I'm going to show you example of everything. You might and then there are comments. Comments are not processed by the program. It's just a comment that for any line you want to do, it doesn't run. That doesn't run in the software. All right. So then there are here's the list of all the header files. You don't need to remember all of them now, but I'm gonna include the list in my blog. So if whenever you need to use them anytime, you can just go to my blog and get the whole list. You need to remember first is couple of important ones are this stdio.h, which is standard input output .h means header, and conio.h, which is console input output. Then there's maths.h, which is used for the mathematical functions, like if you want to use square root or squaring or any other math functions, trigonometric functions. All of them are in maths.h. Then string.h is for string functions. Oh, these are three, four which you need to remember for now, and all of them would be included on my blog, as I said earlier. uh, whenever you need in your own personal projects or your codes, you can use it from there. You can just search it up on my blog. Okay, so let's get into our first program, which would be a print a message on the screen. Okay, so this is a C compiler here. As you can see, I'm using a GCC compiler, as this is the one that is now being used in the industries. So I'm pretty sure that some of you have used Turbo C or any other version, but GCC is the one that is currently being used in most of the industries. So we're gonna get used to this one. Otherwise, you can use any other compiler that you are more comfortable with. Another thing about GCC is that it can be used to compile any language, not just C, but any language. You can make Android programs, you can use Java, you can use Python, any language on this one. You can go Google it up how to download and install GCC. Right. So let's start with, so as I said, first is the preprocessor commands. You need to use hash include. The first header file you need to include for C programming is stdio.h, which says standard input output, which is includes your screen, your keyboard and all. Okay, and then comes is your function. uh, yeah, so your function is main function int main. See, a lot of you, some of you might have been using void main. Yeah, I used to use void main myself, but recently I read that void main is not a good practice. See, the difference between void main and int main is that you use void function when you don't want to return any value. But if you use int, as int is for integer keyword in C language, so if you use int, that means uh, you're gonna return a value. You can use void for any small programs, but it's not a good practice because your programs are interacting with your processor. When you're making big programs, you might need to return some values. So it's just good practice that you get used to it using int main as your functions. um, but if you think you can use any other, just it's up to you. But that's what I suggest. All right, so when we use int main, or when you do int main, you could have to return a value. As I said, return 0. 0 means that when you return 0 to your processor, it just means that yes, your program is running without any errors. That's what this program will tell the processor. If it returns 1, that means there is some error. That's it. And in void, it doesn't ask for, if you have void main as a function, um, doesn't ask for any values returned. It will automatically run the entire program, and that's it. But in int main, you can terminate your program in between, and yeah, you can terminate your program in between and return the values, so just to tell the processor there is no errors. Okay, so next off is we had to print a message on the screen. That was our first program. So to print a message on the screen, the command is print f. That's your command. It's simple, print and then f. That's your command to tell a processor in C what you want to print. And if there's a specific text you want to print, it comes in these double quotes. So I'm gonna say, this is my first program. That's it. That's it. And every this is your statement. This printf is your statement or executable statement. Every statement in C programming, you need to terminate with a semicolon. That that this semicolon is what tells the compiler that that's where your one statement ends. See, I didn't put a semicolon after the int main because that's not where this ends. It starts here again. So that's why there's no semicolon over there. But this statement ends here. That's why it's a semicolon. If you don't put, it will give you an error. And this over here, this entire program is your basic format of writing a program, or we also call it as syntax in programming terms. There's also a semicolon after return 0 because that's also an executable statement. That's where it ends. All right, now after we're done, let's see what our program actually shows. We're gonna go here, build and run right here. Okay, that's after we have run and build, this is what it shows. This is the result of execution. When we have run the program, it displays the message, this is my first program, and this is the process return 0. Remember, we have written return 0. as a command, and it returned value 0 to the processor, which means the program is running fine. And it also gives us the execution time. Press any key to continue and it will just stop. Okay, let's see into program, back into my program. um, there's another command if you want to stop a program in between, like not stop but pause it for a bit until a given next until you have given until you have pressed a key. This is the command that we use, get ch. You can pause a program in between until a key has been pressed on your keyboard. Now let's build and run this one and we'll see the output. There you go, that's the output. Now have you seen the change? It hasn't given us the return and the execution time on the first go because the program has paused in between until I press a key on my keyboard. When I press a key, now the program has completely done and it gives the execution time because I was just um, because I was waiting to press my key. That's why the execution time has increased. If I don't, the execution time will remain same. All right, so that's it. And couple of pointers when you're writing your program is see, always use indents. Indent means the space here, so it just this space, this space. Every time you go into a next function or you're writing a next set of statements where another just use tab spaces. It just makes your code a lot neater. It makes it neat for you to understand. If there's a fault and you want to find any error in your programming or troubleshooting or anything, it just makes it easier for yourself to actually find that problem and resolve it. If your code is messy, otherwise it's not required by the compiler. It just makes your program less messy. Otherwise, if you make it messy, it just it's really hard for you yourself. Just make it easy for yourself. Another thing is, see, as we have discussed earlier, the C program has functions like hash define. Hash define is used to define a value or something. So if we are writing hash define value, always try to use uppercase letters. That's just it's gonna like like this, all in caps. It just makes it easier for yourself and other team members that you're using for programming, that okay, this is a constant, this is a defined value before the program, and when you're using it inside your program, it's inside this main function, you would know okay, this value is something that is already defined beforehand. And so it just makes it easier for yourself and your team to just read the program better. Remember, this programming is, this language is for you to understand machines better. And uh, more things is, as I already said, when you're using main function, try to use int more often. That's just more good practice. As I said, your processor always uh, interact with your program, and it needs a value to know that the program ran successfully. And what were comments? Okay, so comments is, as I said, comments are non-executable statements. You can, there are multiple ways of making a line as a comment. Is writing putting double slash. So now this line became a comment, it won't be executed any further. That if you need to just make one line as a comment, but if you want to make multiple lines as a comment, you can use slash and then a star. All the lines after, until you have another star and a slash, it will make all the lines as a comments after that, within that limit. All right, that's it for today as the first program for in programming language. If you have any feedback or any question, do let me know in the comment section, or my email is also in the description. And see you next time with the variables. All right.